Good evening and welcome to the Golden Road TV show. I'm your host, Michael DiMartino, and as always, very happy and honored to be here every week, except for a short hiatus over the last year. Now going on our fifth year of broadcasting in support of community voices and independent media, not just here in Nevada County, but all throughout the bioregion and broadcasting globally on YouTube. So we have a great show for you tonight, and again, I'm happy to be here. We're actually really excited about, we've just installed our own servers, and we're working on building out our own independent media platform for the bioregion, where we're going to be launching a myriad of existing shows from throughout the area, but also working on helping to create some new shows for your inspirational and educational watching pleasure. And this show is not just a spectator sport. We're hoping to inspire you to some level of advocacy and activism. So again, welcome to the Golden Road, bridging the past with today for a better tomorrow. So we have a great show for you tonight, and my first guest here this evening will be doing our Gift of Health part of the show. And this is someone who works in the area of health services. A nice warm round of applause and welcome to the show, Joy Brand.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Pretty
you,
good.
Michael.
I haven't even heard anything yet. So why don't we start at the beginning a little bit about what kind of health services you're involved in, and then maybe we can give our audience a little bit of understanding of how you got inspired or involved in that field.
Okay. I've always been interested in my own body, how it works, and I studied nursing and figured out that I didn't really want to be, I wanted to be more in a prevention area field where people could learn how to take care of themselves. Like, where's the owner's manual that comes with this vehicle that we live in? And so my whole interest has been in prevention through food. I'm also a natural food chef and have done catering for many years. And I finally finished a master's degree in public health. So even though I wish I had finished a nursing degree so many years previous, I discovered that public health is really what I'm about. And that's about what creates health individually and in the community, and how do we, public health is about how you monitor the health of individuals and their communities, and then how you respond to the needs of individuals and communities to promote health.
Well, it's very interesting. My daughter is actually a PA.
Okay.
And right now she's working in a hospital in Brooklyn, New York.
Wow.
And I think in my background, the times I've worked with various people and myself with things like herbalism and holistic medicine, and of course now many alternative health disciplines like yoga and meditation and awareness about nutrition and organic food has become more prevalent. I think we can still see there's a huge divide of what we've come to know as Western medicine, and treating, I would say, more symptoms, and having a very particular methodology attached to that, sometimes not even looking at nutrition, but looking at other natural health modalities and even towards more ancient Eastern traditions, Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, and other things, where they look at the whole system of a person's health, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, the physical, and try to live a lifestyle that's a little bit healthier and maybe more preventative. So maybe somehow fate was not in the cards for you to be a nurse, which of course is an amazing, honorable field of service. But so you're doing all these community-related projects, and you're working with aspects of natural health too. So what helped you make that decision, or what was the influencing factor of not becoming a nurse and kind of diving deeper into the areas that you're interested in?
Well, I didn't want to be delivering drugs to people, basically, which the field of nursing, 40 years ago, around that time, and even presently, is more about using drugs. And the medical system in our country is that the conventional medical treatments are based in drugs. Public health is more about what can people do independently and individually in lifestyle, in how they nourish themselves, and these other related factors. How do you take care of yourself? How do you be the person in charge of taking care of yourself? And how do you have more autonomy and agency around your own health instead of going to the doctor and being given a drug to fix whatever symptoms you have? What is it that you can do to understand how your own body works and what you need?
I love that, because what I sense you're implying is really a sense of responsibility, tied potentially to our own sovereignty. I think more and more every day people are waking up to the importance that whether it's the medical profession or anemic or maybe broken political leadership, whatever that might be, that we can't simply just think someone's going to come from outside of us and fix things and manage things and do things in a way that is always in our best interest. So this whole idea of our sovereignty and the responsibility that comes with taking care of not only our health, but maybe our environment, our relationships with people, and the decisions that come along with that.
Yeah. Also, I was a community health educator on the island of Maui for about 15 years, and I did outreach education in maternal and child health, mothers and babies, family planning, when do you get pregnant, how do you care for yourself so that you have a healthy baby and a healthy family. And the medicalization of childbirth is one of the first areas that human beings are disconnected from their natural ability to nurture and heal and care for each other. So that's like there's a fundamental break when and it's, please don't misunderstand. We have very effective medical care for acute trauma and acute
Absolutely.
Situations that we're all grateful for the advances in medicine and what they provide, including drugs. I don't want to be disrespectful of any of these modalities, but what I see that we don't do in our country is that we don't empower people to know how to care for themselves. Right now there is it isn't a real public health education campaign. There is a media blitz about wearing masks that is not educating the public about preventive health care.
And if I may, just to rewind for a moment, I think part of when you were talking about childbirth also, my two daughters were home birthed. We used a doula and a midwife. Mm-hmm. We also birthed in water, and we also did what's called lotus birthing, where you don't actually, after the child is born, you don't actually cut the placenta.
And the umbilical cord. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. You don't cut the umbilical cord from the placenta. And they found out that so much important genetic information is given, that final surgence of blood and the nutrition from the mother, which deal directly with the whole concept of child development, of non-traumatic birth. But if we look back in the history books, we find not only birth and families, but really the whole agenda towards disempowering women. Mm-hmm. Whether they were herbalists called witches, or they did midwifery, that there's really been a very strategic campaign against women, and really in this colonial frame, let's say, because in many cultures it's not that way. Indigenous cultures, many parts of Europe and other countries I visited, sub-equatorial countries, the role of the the woman is essential to the health of the family. Here in the West, we tend to have much more of a patriarchal and almost a socio-religious attitude towards the need to intervene in things that have occurred for thousands of years in a certain way. So I just wanted to add to the conversation about that and get your thoughts about that, because what's exciting to me is we're starting now to remember and more see the important role and the essential ingredient that women add to bringing back an equilibrium to a very broken, distorted, out of balance, depressed, and sick society.
Yeah, it's I do see a blessing in what we're experiencing at this time, where the disconnect from people's own sense that they are in control, not just in control, but they have a right to feel empowered about their own health, and that their immunity and their ability to interact with the world, with the environment, with each other is it's not only sacred, but it's essential for our health as individuals and as a community. And the disconnection that starts with that, with a medicalized birth and the interventions that happen where a child and a mother is disconnected from caring for her child. Midwifery, midwives, doulas help mothers stay connected to their to being empowered in birth. And those of us who have given birth know how empowering an experience that is. It is not only sacred, but it is divine, and it is, I wouldn't say the word, but it is really empowering. And that is part of that's part of the original, one of the beginnings of the disconnection. But yeah, it's amazing. And I mean, I appreciate the conversation that you're creating together. But I
was
also,
actually born once too.
so you
I
were,
was born once.
yeah, yes, we were.
Many moons ago, but I
true.
acknowledge I came from my mother, and I think what's interesting too, as a child I was never actually immunized or received vaccinations due to allergies, so I feel pretty blessed, let's say.
Yeah.
And also, I know in my generation, when we were babies, we were in the yard. We were eating dirt. We were sucking on rocks. We were chewing on sticks. We were actually developing
Barefoot.
the bacterias and the immunity and the digestive biome that play a very important symbiotic relationship with bacteria to be healthy. Unfortunately, we live in a society now where so many children are anemic from any interaction with nature. The constant short loop neuro processing of being on video games and being engaged in technology and looking at screens, that there's been a huge disconnect, and now more than ever we can see this wave of depression, of suicide, and really very sad expressions of how that important sacred connection has been broken.
Right, and I learned through my experience of having antibiotics. First, I just want to say that when I lived in Hawaii, Hawaii, for those of you who don't know, is ground zero of biotech experimentation, and Monsanto and the other biotech industries do heavy spraying and testing. They formulate chemical, basically bioweapons, and they're released into the natural environment. Well, I lived downwind from that for 7 years, and it totally kind of destroyed my microbiome. And
Wow.
I was depressed, and I didn't know what was happening. But I had to leave there. I'm now living on land with a garden, with a biodynamic garden, and learning about sacred agriculture. And I am coming alive again with nature, with the natural world and its effect on my body. And I'm waking up. And what you said before about not having childhood immunizations because of allergies, I'm aware, and again, I'm more internally informed by my own experience, and that having been exposed to, I will call them bioweapons, because that's what they are, that they disconnect you from your inner knowledge and your inner sense of knowing. So we're living in a time where, unfortunately, there are many people who are not aware of their own, of who they are in a biological way, and how our biology, our DNA, even informs our thinking and our ability to process information, to interact with the environment. So it's quite a profound experience that we're awakening from.
Right. Yeah. Well, I have to say, I'm really enjoying our conversation. There's only so much we can cover in the short time that we have. We used to be a 2-hour show, but we found that it's hard to keep people's attention for 2 hours. Yeah. We tried everything in the book. We had dancing cats, fiery hula hoops, people diving through, but it's tough to compete. There's so much information and media out there. But nonetheless, we're very committed to helping to showcase the voices of people like yourself that are truly what we would consider a solutionary, doing great work in the community. Before we finish, can you offer a little tidbit or a gift of health to our viewing audience of something they can do, maybe seasonal or in general, to enjoy a better quality of life and health?
Well, I would say that the more you can turn off media, mainstream media, Facebook, and go outside and be in nature, go for a walk along the river, spend time quietly outside in nature, that will help restore more of your inner vitality. And as well as, eating good if you can, as much as you can, like 90%, or if you're at 50%, maybe 55%, and just, treat yourself to things that are good for you.
Great, thank you so much. So again, if you're just tuning in, you're watching the Golden Road TV show. I'm your host, Michael DiMartino, and we just had a pretty lively and inspiring discussion here with Joy Brand and on the gift of health. I want to invite you to come back at some point in the future. Before I do go on, I want to just thank once again KT and Giselle for helping to architect this amazing set this evening. And actually every week we're going to have a different set. This week we're going to thank Spirit House, Mama Madrones for helping to donate some of these amazing products. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And I want to thank them for helping to bring more beauty to our set and to the show. So we're going to take a little musical interlude with a piece of music by Michael Shapiro. And then right after that, we're going to have someone on the show who actually needs no introduction, who's been serving great, conscious, healthy food and positive, compassionate energy to our community for years, who actually has some very disturbing things that she's been competing with. And we want to give you an update, but we're going to have Valentina here on the show in just another moment. So thank you once again, Joy, for being on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you.
It's the Golden Road TV show. It's the Golden Road TV show. Well, bridging the past with today for a better tomorrow.
Golden Road explores the intersection of arts, environment, culture, health, peace, justice, science, and technology, paving the road for positive social change.
It's the Golden Road
And we're back, still ingesting some of that wisdom from Joy that she shared here on the show. Again, if you're just tuning in, you're watching the Golden Road TV show, helping to bridge the past with today for a better tomorrow. I'm your host, Michael DiMartino. And the next part of the show, again, I'm very happy not only to enjoy amazing food prepared at her organic bistro, but in the moments that I've got to talk and discuss with her, and to be able to share information, not someone who's not just an amazing community member with the cafe, but also has a wealth of knowledge. She hails originally from Russia.
Soviet Union.
And she's here tonight to talk about a little bit of what's happening currently with Valentina's. So again, nice warm round of applause for Valentina.
Thank you. Thank you.
It said Master Z. Is that what's the Master Z?
My husband and I combined both our last names,
Wow.
and we took 3 letters of his last name and 4 letters of my last name, and we made up a new name.
You could have had a career as a rapper.
Well, that's a thank you for that idea.
Absolutely.
I will definitely use it.
So, of course, for anybody in the region, know that you have the Organic Bistro, and you prepare conscious food. I want to get more into what's happening currently, but let's go back to maybe even your childhood in Russia. I know it's a very different culture with a very different approach to health. So can you give us a little framework of maybe your personal story, and then we'll bring that up to the current day?
I grew up during the communism. When I was 16 years old, communism broke apart, and approach to health was very different. Russian people do not go to the hospital until you either broke your arm or you had some sort of emergency. So everything is done on the level of naturopathic medicine. So I always wanted to be a healer. Being a doctor was an honorable profession, and I wanted to do that. I finished 2 years of medical school, but I didn't graduate. I came to America. But approach to food was so different. Everyone has gardens. Everyone grows their own food. The government only sells like rice and flour that you can't buy do yourself, but majority of food is grown by community, and usually you have enough food that you have for the family, and if you have leftover, you go to the farmers markets, which are 365 days a year, and you sell the food, you exchange the goods, and that's how people live. So I did not grow up with any pesticides. I've never seen them until I came to America. We dealt with bugs by collecting them instead of spraying them. So food was truly organic. And I didn't know that what we're doing to the food, it's food terrorism. But I learned my hard lesson through nearly death of my daughter, through vaccination, feeding her McDonald's and Taco Bell, thinking, why should I cook dinner? I can go buy hamburger for 39 cents. And that was my mistakes. But lessons learned.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you.
So that obviously helped to inspire you eventually to create Valentina's Organic Bistro?
Yes. That was my a movement out of what happened to my daughter. And she was in intensive care for 9.5 months in UC San Francisco due to vaccination injury. And I fed her McDonald's while she was there, thinking I'm a good mom, providing my daughter good food, and not knowing. So that was the beginning and birthing of my understanding what is happening to our country. It is a poisoning of our people.
Well, what's interesting, and this kind of goes back to what Joy was talking about, I worked for, and still do, with many indigenous communities. And if you go to Hawaii, if you go to the Hopi Indian Reservation, if you go to parts of Asia, the amount of obesity because of the inorganic and level of processed foods, and even going back to the history of the birthing of the United States, which was on the backs, unfortunately, of a lot of African slavery, Asian Americans who helped build the country, and the genocide of a lot of indigenous people, there was really a conscious campaign to bring horrible food, alcohol, and sugar to people to help make them sick, kind of like defeating them from the inside out. So that helped to inspire Valentina's. So if someone comes into Valentina's in this day and age, what would they expect to find?
We serve coffee, we serve burritos. We got inspired by Chipotle. So we have a burrito bar, we have salads, sandwiches, burgers. That's our menu.
And everything is...
But you get love. That's the most amazing ingredient. And 90%, thank you. 90% of our food is organic, but we don't have any GMO in our restaurant. It's amazing. In America, you can still call organic product if you only have 70% organic and 30% GMO, which is absolutely sad.
We call that greenwashing.
Something like that.
You know, you got to find a way to sell the toxins and the poison.
Yeah,
So if you
very
make
good.
it look sexy, then people love it.
Right.
And not even, but we can see, I mean, I've never been to Russia. I've traveled to many places. It's very heartbreaking to go to places like South America or parts of Europe or even parts of the Caribbean, and you go there and you see Taco Bell in Mexico, or you see a Burger King, or you see these fast food franchises where they try to addict people to the quick, easy, convenient, and cheap, but they'll saying you get what you pay for. The reality is, and again, I'm not here to dispel or to create animosity or polarize. We're just simply talking about the reality of things. I was a touring musician for years. There was many a late night. After a gig at 2 a.m. in the morning, the only thing I could find to eat was a bean burrito from a fast food chain. So I'm no saint, but more or less we're trying to raise awareness that it's not something we should incorporate into our lifestyle.
Right.
So fantastic. So people come into Valentina's, and of course, I know you're loved by so much of the community, and every person that comes in, you greet them. And again, I think you said it really wisely, is the main ingredients is love. And you put that into the food, and it's known. So share a little bit about what's happening currently with Valentina's, and which is culminating potentially up to what's happening on the 12th.
What's happening to me is no big deal. My issue is what happened to America. That's what I want to touch on. I lived in communism and have been living in the restaurant and hearing so many people from all over the world reinforces what we all experience. Unfortunately, Americans did not have that chance, so we're not aware of what's going on. I've met this lovely lady in the restaurant 13 years ago. She's from Germany, and she was 101 years old at the time. And she told me, Valentina, let me tell you a little secret. I don't like Jews, she said. I'm glad Hitler killed them. And my whole childhood, listening to the history, I was always wondered, how did Hitler was able to convince German people to turn on the fellow neighbor? And I asked the question to my teachers, to my classmates, and we never had an answer. And she said that Hitler told that Jewish people were infectious disease. So that turned neighbors against each other, and suddenly we had that massive killing of the fellow neighbor. In 1934 through 1939, in Russia, health department came in and told that all the Russian food has deadly bug. So military came to people's home, destroyed all the food. They killed all the farm animals. They cut all the fruit trees. They burned all the fields. My grandma lost 7 children to starvation. 20 million people died, between 6 to 20 million. That's what's numbers are shown. And what is health department saying? That we're gonna test farmers. And if the farmers have COVID, the history will be repeated. So health department is a division of Nazi. That's how it is. And if you go to the YouTube and look at the CDC videos, who do you see? Look at their clothes. They're wearing Nazi clothes. The only thing is missing is swastika. They have the same hats, they have the same jacket, they have same pants, they have same skirts, and they're doing to this country. The history is being repeated. And I have a restaurant, and I will stand proudly strong to telling people, please recognize this, that Nazi communism is at our front door. In fact, it's
And
in
you've
our
lived
house.
through it.
I
You
lived through
lived through
it.
it.
I lived through it. My family lived through it. But unfortunately, you don't read this in the history books. Because if they tell you the history, you will see the patterns of behavior. And a lot of people think I'm crazy lunatic and I don't love the community. I just want to let everyone know that I love every one of them. Leaving America and coming to living in Russia, coming to America. I lived in Sacramento for 10 years. I did not have one friend. So coming to Grass Valley really gave me home. And I want to thank you for that. And I want to make sure this home is safe. Even though people don't believe us, the foreigners, they think we're just imagining. Please, we want to wake people up and let them know that it is time to protect our country. Because there's no country on the planet like the United States. And we need to save that.
And it's interesting because as we communicate, you're really talking from a health standard. I know in this day and age of so much polarization, some people are operating purely on a political agenda. Some people are operating even on a socio-religious agenda. I mean, we see it. I know many times I drove past your place, and on one corner it was Black Lives Matter, and then across the street it was Blue Lives Matter, and then over there it was Make America Great Again, and then over here it was Make America Free Again. So we definitely live in an age of everybody has a flag to wave and a message to share. I guess where the challenge comes in, because we do live in a hopefully a free society based on constitutional values, even though the indigenous people have a slightly different history and story, but nonetheless that we have the freedom of speech. So the fact that you're offering this information in relationship to health, and you've lived through a certain experience to share an insight. So in you sharing that insight, as a business owner, and we've seen many businesses here in Nevada County just completely driven into the ground. People's inability to pay their rent, their mortgage, feed their families. Like you were talking about, having symbolically their fields burned and their food removed, and a lot of these things that people depend on for their livelihood. You decided to take a stand and say, okay, people are welcome to come into my cafe, and you have the freedom to come in and not have to wear a mask.
Absolutely. Our restaurant, I think was in April of last year, I purchased UV lights. I come from Siberia, and Siberia has very little sun exposure. So how I learned is from medical school, every medical procedure or surgery is done under the UV lights. So Russia has very little staph infection or no staph infection because all the bacteria, viruses is killed during surgery, and therefore a patient is able to recover way faster with no complications. So I bought UV lights and I installed all over the restaurant. So if you sneeze at someone, by the time sneeze gets there, it's gonna kill by UV light and you're good to go. Plus I used to speak Turkish, but I understand Turkish. And 3 months into pandemic, Turkish television released a 20-minute segment on their health, saying that Turkish scientists found a solution to COVID. So they take your blood through machine, like when you have a kidney dialysis, and process through UV light. And
The same for cancer treatments.
oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, wow. So that way they kill infection inside your blood, and they take a stethoscope, like for the food, and put in your lung and irradiate with UV lights. So anyone who has infection in the lung, which that's what COVID is, inflammation, and they found 100% successful rate. And that allowed me to believe that this is the solution that is possible. Besides that, there's other factors
Well, like you know, if you follow the money,
Yes, yes,
and we won't get into the whole discussion of Bill Gates moving from computer technology, Microsoft, into the vaccination market. And again, I'm not here to necessarily take a stance. I have my own personal beliefs, but to give you a voice. So in you allowing people to come into your cafe, what's happened?
Allowing. This is free country. I am not allowing. You are able
Exactly.
to do what you think is your consciously right. I am not a police officer. I'm not any person of authority. I am in the business of feeding people and loving them. I cannot tell them what to do.
So let's do this. Let's take a quick break. We're going to come back. We have one more guest, Steve Nathan, coming up from Strategic Campaigns. But let's take a little musical break. We can kind of stretch for a second. We'll come back with a few more minutes of discussion about what's happening, building up to February 12th.
Yes.
Or not. It has yet to be known.
Yes.
But let's take another musical interlude with a piece of music by Michael Shapiro. And we'll be back in just another moment with our final thoughts and in the moment update with Valentina from the Organic Bistro.
Thank you.
It's a golden road TV show. Yes, it's a golden road TV show. It's a Golden Road TV show.com.
And we're back. You're watching the Golden Road TV show. I'm your host, Michael DiMartino. That was a quick little promotional video. Typically, we have Horacio Roa here on the show talking about naturopathic medicine and nutrition. He's not here this evening. It's very exciting. He's about to launch an online series about food and nutrition with recipes that you can create at home. If you don't have the time, you can visit Valentina's Organic Bistro right off of Brunswick here in Grass Valley. So we have a few more minutes left, and we've been talking, about so many things, but I think what's important is what's happening right now based on your stance about health, keeping your doors open to still serve the community food.
Absolutely.
So what's happening right now in conjunction with your food license and February 12th?
Yes, I have a 10-day pending loss of license. That is, the reason is because I'm allowing indoor dining. And I am strongly feeling that I am equally responsible to stay alive and not be homeless the way Costco is doing the business, the way Walmart is doing the business, and all the big chain stores. And when Costco, Walmart, Target, Raley's, Safeway will be serving their customers outside in the parking lot, I will be doing the same. Until then, I am serving my customers indoor. And when you go to the airplane and you will sit 6 foot apart in airplane and don't touch people's arms, then I will serve outdoors. Until then, why are some people are forced to become homeless? Because that's my reality, forcing me to be homeless, and the billionaires are getting richer. That is my question. I want an honest and decent question answered by health department and all the representative. The things do not make sense. It doesn't make sense.
And I have to say, when I've noticed, when I've been there, some people don't wear masks. Some people do wear masks. It's not like you're sitting there dictating, telling people what to do, which again comes into the issue of personal responsibility, sovereignty.
Yes.
I know it's a very sensitive issue, but I wanted to have you on the show to bring light because not only because of your history and who you are in the community, but I think it's really sad to see in an area like Nevada County, where Grass Valley and Nevada City, we have absolutely no big box stores in our downtown communities. It's all local businesses, and there's a very, very specific industrial areas that over 75% of the businesses are closed. And a lot of them are trying to do online platforms, but it's been quite a challenge. And like you said, a lot of the larger chains are still enjoying maybe a limited capacity, but still enjoying the benefit of clientele. So we have about another minute left. So in the next few days, what can people do? How do they find you? If you could share your address or a website. I don't know if you want people to call you, but how can people come and support you and the restaurant and kind of learn more and get involved and also enjoy a great burrito and a salad?
Thank you. Well, you're welcome to the restaurant, and you're welcome without mask or with mask. That's your choice. How you support is call health department and let them know that what you're thinking. And that's all that matters, because this is not about just my restaurant. It's about the future of our country. This is about freedom, of everyone's freedom, because the protocol of communism, we're taking all the boxes. There's only a few boxes left there. I lived through communism, I know. And we're at the bottom of the list. So my restaurant, yes, for the last 4 months, I've been amazing. Before that, I lost my customers. I love them and I miss them. But the reality is, the end is coming because the communism is taking over our country. And I didn't leave Russia to come to watch a birthing of communism. That is
Maybe
not okay.
Maybe you're somehow the canary in the coal mine.
I think maybe I brought them with me in the suitcase or something. I don't know. So, thank you.
So again, you're watching Golden Road. We have about run out of time. I want to invite you back. This is potentially going to happen on February 12th, so we want to encourage people to come over and continue to support the restaurant.
Thank you.
And another round of applause for Valentina, AKA Master Z.
Master Z.
There you go. Okay, so again, before we go on, I want to thank my floor director, Ted Henwood, tonight for helping to get people checked in and let people know how things are going. A nice warm round of applause for him. I want to thank Tara for helping to do the switching. There's a lot of elements that go into producing a show like this technically and live streaming it. This is not pre-produced. We want to remind you it's interactive, so you can actually go on YouTube and pose questions and comments, and we're going to try to more and more make the show interactive because we don't want to just be talking heads on the screen. There's enough of that information saturation. And again, I want to thank KT and Giselle for this lovely set.
It's beautiful.
And sponsored by Mama Madrone's Echo Emporium, another business working to keep open all sorts of great products, and we could talk maybe a little bit about that. I don't know if Tara wants to do a Zoom, but they have all sorts of great beeswax candles and fair trade products, healthy soaps. A lot of the stuff are from local artisans, organic products, non-toxic products, just a great array of stuff. So I want to thank Kristen from Mama Madrone's for helping to make the set look great. And of course, again, for Katie and Giselle. And that'll about do it for this part of the show. We're going to go back to a little musical break, a little stretch and a breath, and we'll be back with Steve Nathan of Strategic Campaigns here on the Golden Road.
It's the Golden Road TV show. Well, listen once, listen twice. Oh, won't you please take my advice? It's the Golden Road TV show.com.
Tell her to share the link. Tell her to share the link. Get her number. And we're back again. Thank you so much. In light of everything she's doing with the restaurant and challenges, I want to thank Valentina for taking time to be here tonight. So my next guest is actually someone, this is his second appearance on the show, but someone who showed up recently from Manhattan to help work on various projects in media and watershed-related topics here. He's went from being a political analyst now to being a media specialist to help create campaigns, successful campaigns and strategies around how to use media as a tool to educate, inspire, bring solutions, and generate joy. So a nice round of applause for Steve Nathan of Strategic Campaigns. Is that okay?
You did fine. Thank you so much for having me back. It's really a pleasure. I really enjoy the guests that you have, interesting conversations. I agree with many of them. I don't agree with some. And as I've been coming here more and more, when I first got here, we started talking about doing media for watershed projects, and I'm happy to do that. And the more I'm here, I find that there are so many other projects that we can be doing. And so that's what I've decided to do, is transition Strategic Campaigns from being a political consulting firm to being a media consulting firm. In fact, I want to do politics without doing politics. I want to do politics through the media.
Elaborate, please. That's a very cryptic statement.
So you and I have talked about utilizing media to educate, inform, help people level up, raise the bar, and just get people seeing truth and responsibility and accountability and get them on the same page. In some ways, I feel that people are in different net universes, and how do we bring people together? And I believe the way that we do that is to focus on issues that impact all of us first. There's lots of issues out there. I believe that if we focus on getting people homes and land and clean water and electricity and internet access and education and healthcare, those 7 things, if every citizen had that, all of a sudden our thoughts would come from a different level.
I'm having an epiphany. The new Steve Deal.
No, it's not me. It's just, believe it or not, this came a long time ago from Maslow, except for maybe the internet part and the electricity part. It's Maslow's hierarchy of basic needs, that we can continue to fight over lots of issues, or if we're going to be solutionaries, I love that term, why can't we focus on the things that impact everybody? Let's take care of those problems first. You want to argue about guns with me? We're going to put that on hold for a little while. Let's make sure everybody has a house and land and clean water and electricity and internet and healthcare. Right. Once we solve those, I believe that all the other problems we face will be much easier to solve because we'll be coming from a different place. I listened to your previous guests and guests on other shows the past few weeks, and they've talked about how families are being torn apart, workplaces are being torn apart, neighborhoods are being torn apart, all because of politics. And what I've come to realize is that we're doing politics all wrong. What's the one thing that both parties need to succeed?
Votes.
No.
Money.
No.
Bullshit.
Close.
Excuse me.
They need conflict. Conflict is how they get the money and the votes. Conflict is how they divide us and create single issue voters out of us. And by doing that, all of a sudden, that one issue becomes so important to me because they've been drumming it into my head that somebody's trying to take it away from me, that people forget about all the other issues that we face, whether it's education, whether it's science, whether it's healthcare, whether it's food that doesn't poison us. You asked, so I told you I might be a little controversial. I know that people are going to have things to say, and I'm willing to answer to all of it. So I hope people will actually send in questions, send in your disagreements. I'll do my best to handle them responsibly and have adult conversations about why I believe we have the brain power to solve every problem we have. As long as we're willing to be smart about it and not fight over things that really don't affect us all.
So in the 8 or 10 minutes left, do you want to speak a little bit of just for a moment about your book or not?
So
I think it's very telling though, because it holds a certain mantle to a truth that you're trying to be a bridge builder and to reach the level of conversation to a higher harmonic also.
So I started writing my book a couple of years ago. And I found that over the last few years that not every month or week, but literally every day and sometimes every hour, things that I had written were changing because things happen that fast. Everybody's so concerned about a 30-second soundbite or creating this conflict that nobody wants to deal with the issues that impact us all. And so I decided I was going to write a book, and I'm still writing it. It's based on questions. It really is literally just asking questions. Why is this so? Why isn't this happening? And basically I talk about things like jobs, education, healthcare, food supply,
Infrastructure.
I am a huge proponent of infrastructure, and I hear people talking about bridges, roads, and tunnels, and infrastructure is not just that. Infrastructure is high-speed rail, low-speed rail, local rail, barges, seaports, airports, our electrical grid, our internet.
Which no one talks about, the fact that, we recently discovered that we are potentially our whole computer grid network has been hacked, and that there's malware within it, and at any time, the electric grid could go down, the
Our nuclear power plants
grid,
can be shut down, all these things, yes. And there's something else that's a huge impact. And we experience it here. Since I came from New York City, out here, internet is an issue, high-speed internet. When are we going to address the fact that we don't have high-speed internet everywhere throughout the country? Why should people in rural areas not have the ability to communicate and have the access to information and education that people in the cities have? And how can we bridge that divide?
Bridge the haves and the have-nots.
Absolutely. And so these are some of the things that I'm focusing on. And it started with you when I first met you over the summer. We started talking about water supplies and watersheds. And so I'm a former building superintendent from New York. I've done many things in my life. I was a green super, one of New York's 1,000 green supers from New York City. And I've learned about water supply and fire safety. You talk a lot, Michael, about emergency preparedness. And I'm a huge proponent of people being prepared for themselves and responsible. My daughter called me during when COVID first came out and shutdowns happened. She had been sick for a week. And by the time she went to the store, she couldn't find toilet paper and she couldn't find food. The shelves where she lived were stripped bare. And where I was in New York City, I didn't worry about a thing. I had food, I had water, I had toilet paper. It's like I'm just used to preparing that way. So one of the things I started working with her about was teaching her about how to build a pantry and how to make sure that the things she has are going to get her through a few weeks if anything happens. And it's not about hoarding. It really isn't. It's about being smart, keeping things you need. If you have to go for 2 or 3 weeks or 2 or 3 months, are you prepared for that? And until we get the ability to get things delivered, like I started finding out that I could get groceries delivered to me in New York City, which was a great thing because then I didn't have to go out. I'm a senior citizen. I have compromised lungs. I wasn't looking forward to going out. So these are things that I take into consideration as well. I'm a veteran. I learned about all this stuff a long time ago.
And a lot of it is just basic common sense, but unfortunately, in the fast-paced world that we tend to live in, people move these common sense-based priorities further down the list, and then it becomes more important to have that meeting, to have that fancy dinner, to go out to the club, or to do this, or to do that, or to catch the premiere of a movie, which all can help enhance quality of life. But nonetheless, we have somehow lost the idea that we need these foundational priorities, which we call community sustainability or community resilience, to actually be able to be more independent, more sovereign, but also to take the responsibility that goes along with that individuation of our being. And again, we've completely, which has been one of the strange things that's happened over the last year. Almost everyone I know has recalibrated their priorities in life.
So I would take what you said and boil it down to common sense isn't all that common. and it's because of our education system. When I went to school and graduated high school, I had a fairly well-rounded education. When I started going to college, I got in depth more. And I have to learn every day. Something I've learned in the last few years is to embrace my ignorance. I spent most of my life trying to prove how smart I was and how much I know. And the most freeing thing in the world was to learn to embrace my ignorance, because now I can ask you, show me where I'm wrong. Please, if you know better than I do, please tell me. And it makes it so much easier to get involved in conversations like this. And now, with what you're working on and all these projects, the Alliance for Resilient Communities, the watershed projects, education projects, all of the things that
I'm getting exhausted just listening to what I do. I
focus,
think I have to simplify perhaps here.
So this is what I am now choosing to do with strategic campaigns. I have come to the point where I want to utilize media to support people with projects that make sense so that we get education going. And people can reach me through steve@strategiccampaigns.com. No, I'm sorry, .org. steve@strategiccampaigns.org. I knew you would ask me. And I'm here working with Michael because I've come to learn in this area since moving out here, there's lots of issues that people need to be made aware of. And that's what I'm here to do and help them.
Great. So I know we can talk for a lot. We're also exploring some show ideas where you'll have your own branding of content that you want to help bring to the forefront. I think that'll about do it for us this evening. Again, I want to thank Tara Kelly for helping to be our technical producer tonight, Ted Henwood for being our director, for Giselle and KT for amazing set design. We want to thank our sponsor for the set this evening, Mama Madrone's Echo Emporium in downtown Nevada City. And I also want to thank, even though he's not on set tonight as a presenter, we want to thank Davin Skonberg, who is going to be assisting us throughout the show with different media and different excerpts around ancient futurism, the role that the arts play in regenerative culture, not just here, but around the world. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week, same time, same place. Please share the show. Please subscribe. Please like it. And it'll help us grow, especially when we start to migrate over to our own independent independent platforms. So thanks for watching Golden Road TV as we build a bridge to the past for today for a better tomorrow. Everyone stay safe, and we'll be back next week. Thank you so much.
Follow the golden road, follow the golden road, follow, 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 follow the golden road. We're off to see the Golden Road TV show. You'll find it is a whiz of a show, if ever a show there was. It's arts and culture and history, environment, health, technology, and peace and justice, science, just because of the meaningful things it does. We're off to see the Golden Road TV show.